These past 2 weeks, I fell off a lot of my discipline, where instead of showing up consistently every single day, following a transcribed routine for me and what I'm supposed to be doing in the day, I cut corners. I broke my routine. I sat down with the computer, just consumed content instead of actually taking action within my life. I told myself I could push my actions off to a later date. All of these things kind of gelled together to just make me feel terrible within my life. Instead of feeling ordered and free, not being constrained by discipline, what actually ended up happening was I felt lost. After just watching video after video, my brain started to wire up. I couldn't really focus on the tasks that were important to me because I'm a writer, right? And I write longhand. Instead of showing up and feeling very excited to take on the world before me, I felt tired, fatigued, wasn't getting very good sleep, wasn't feeling like I was in control of who I was. It was because I had let go of my discipline. I really just realized that yesterday, where I became a slave to my phone, my computer, my lifestyle. Instead of feeling order and a sense of clarity about what my purpose was, all it became was me just doing random, meaningless things like I wasn't in control of myself. Because I found that discipline is freedom. Like there's this amazing quote by a Spartan guy who I forgot his name, and I'm gonna paraphrase the quote. But somebody asked him, "What do you guys get, like Spartans? What do you Spartans get from this intense discipline of yours?" The guy answered, "In discipline, we find freedom." And I agree with that completely because discipline is not a bad thing. It's not you limiting yourself with like a mental straitjacket where you're telling yourself you can't do this or you have to do this or yada yada yada. Discipline is a choice for self mastery. To give yourself guardrails, give yourself order to become the person or to prevent yourself from falling into the pitfalls that will take you away from becoming who you want to be. Discipline isn't about a self-righteous notion that you are better than other people. That oh that guy's fat. I'm way better than him. It's like no, that's not discipline. Discipline is about you operating at your best. Figure out what you want to do. For example, you want to be like a writer. You want to be an athlete. You want to achieve these goals within your life. Discipline is drilling down and ignoring everything that isn't that to avoid everything that would bring you down or bring you further away from being that person, right? There's a story about Stephen King, like back in the 1980s, he was addicted to cocaine. He was addicted to nicotine. He was addicted to like these all mind-altering drugs. Came to a point where he had to quit. There was an intervention by his family. They told him like, "You're quitting this, or you're leaving the house." Eventually, he did quit because he was a writer. He was a man who loved his craft, and he still does today. If he hadn't quit, he'd be killing himself. He'd be taking away his opportunity to do that thing within his life, and so he abstained from it. Like I know that's a weird anecdote, like oh Stephen King, the writer, but it's true. We all have things that we may feel like we're slaves to, things that we don't want to let go of. For me, it was video games. I remember when I first tried to quit, it was just like, what? I have to quit gaming in order to become a better person on self improvement? But I love gaming. It's my favorite thing. But eventually letting go of that, eventually disconnecting, even though it was extremely painful, even though I still think about games to this day, it made me realize the painful path may often just be the best path for you, right? Pleasure turns to pain. Eating the donuts every single day, eating the pizzas, not having any restraint over what you are doing, that usually turns to pain later down the line. While painful things like going up, talking to the girl, talking to the guys, developing your skills in different areas of life, very, very painful at first, but it becomes pleasure later down the line. It's like, oh, okay, I'm good at talking to girls now. I'm good at talking to that guy. I feel confident when I go outside. This feels great. Am I saying that, oh, you can never do anything pleasurable? No, but what my point is that you always have a choice, right? You always have a choice for what you choose to do. And you don't need those things. You don't need the pizza. You don't need the junk food, the video games, the phone, the social media. You have all these things that are holding you back, these things that have these attachments, these hooks into you. They're actually pretty superfluous, right? Unnecessary, unneeded. Because think about it. The human race has survived without these things for quite a long time. If we really come down to it, we don't need much more than something to do, a place to live, food to eat that's relatively good, and people to talk with, right? Like being social, just focusing on what's important, being essential, and cutting out everything that doesn't matter. That is discipline. Right? The guy Lou Gehrig. I know I got a lot of stories in this video, but Lou Gehrig, my favorite guy ever for consistency, was an amazing baseball player, and he showed up and took care of himself and was consistent for 2,130 baseball games straight. That's insane. How did he do it? He just showed up and focused on what was essential in his life. He didn't drink, he didn't party, he didn't do any of those things that were nice, would be good to relax with, good things to just take the edge off and keep yourself in a nice, enjoyable state of life. He didn't have a prissy notion of thinking that, oh man, drinking is evil, drinking is bad, that's not good. But rather, he had his goals, he had his dreams, he had the vision of who he wanted to become. And instead of compromising that for a little bit of pleasure, he told himself, anything that gets in the way of my ambition, of my dreams, is poison to me. Right? Poison. I'm not doing it. Imagine if me and you lived like that as well. Because I still get addicted to a few things, right? I've been spending a lot more time on my phone than I usually have. Before I could brag, oh yeah, I spent under an hour on my phone every single day. Recently, it's been like 2 hours, 4 hours. Like, okay, I made the same mistakes as everyone else. Discipline is not a one-time thing. It's something that continually iterates every single day. It's something that evens the playing field if you are willing to give yourself up to it. If you're willing to be disciplined and put limits on your life. Because when you are disciplined, when you don't cut corners, when you don't let things slide within your life, what ends up happening is you don't need to rely on talent. You don't need to rely on the fact that, oh, I'll get lucky or this or that. It's just you working to fulfill your potential, and that's all that really matters. Maybe you won't match up to somebody else, right? Maybe somebody else is way more talented than you. Extremely talented, right? With discipline, you have the opportunity to level the playing field because life is not fair. Some people are more talented than others. Maybe your potential isn't as great as somebody else's, but you never know until you actually reach it, until you actually show up and put in the best effort possible. Look at Kobe Bryant. This guy, he showed up in his basketball playing career in workouts for 2 hours, took a 2 hour break doing something else, then came back to the workout for another 2 hours. He did that every single day and just repeated it over and over during the day. Right? There's probably more to that story. It's been a while since I read his book, The Mamba Mentality. But he was driven, he was disciplined. He showed up and had such a relentless urge to just win, to become the best player he possibly could be, that when he left, when he retired, I'm pretty sure he could have just left knowing that, yo, I gave it my all. I did the very best that I possibly could, and that was enough. Can you imagine? Imagine looking back on your life and thinking, I was disciplined. I managed to show up and do what I want to do. I accomplished the things that were important to me within my life. How good would that feel? So discipline is freedom. In discipline lies freedom because discipline allows you to be fulfilled, allows you to pursue your goals to the best of your ability and become the person you truly want to be. And I think that's great. Getting back into my own discipline, getting back into the simple things like having a routine, meditating, showing up, just doing those things and trusting in the process. I know my life is going to change because it has before, and I know if I just give myself up to it, if I be disciplined, right, it will happen. And if you guys want a book, if you want something to like actually read to actually understand this a bit better, let me show you something. This book, Discipline is Destiny by Ryan Holiday. You want to read something? You want to become more disciplined? Read this book. I'm not sponsored. I just really love the concept of this book. But besides that, have a good one. Peace. Consider subscribing if you like this content. Bye.